address it directly, but said
this was during his Palm Sunday Mass.
During his Palm Sunday Mass, and the quote is, hoping that their person's beliefs would lead them towards the courage of not allowing oneself to be intimidated by the petty gossip of dominant opinion. Outrage over decades of abuse and the cover-up of that abuse is petty gossip? I just... Yeah, I'm not okay with that. That's offensive.
Yes.
I was just speechless, and that's why my email was titled "Grr."
Yeah.
And is that what people can? Is that the arrogant sort of treatment that people will get for daring to be offended by this? Are they so full of their own infallibility that they can't even admit something has gone wrong?
I think historically the church, not strictly the Roman Catholic Church, but the church, various congregations in general, have taken sort of a arrogance, probably the right word, approach to dealing with problems. There was a time when the church doctrine was law, and since then it's been a major influence on people's lives. And for there to be fallibility undermines all their authority.
Well, it can be demonstrated, though. It's said that when the person is Pope is sitting on. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, okay? Because
I'm not that great a scholar, but yeah.
When a Pope is sitting on the throne with his pointy hat and
for lack of the proper vocabulary,
and accessories,
he's channeling the Word of God.
Right, and so he's absolutely infallible at that point. It would be interesting to see if there's a list of all the things that have been said sitting on that chair.
Pope John Paul II was very careful to very infrequently ever make a proclamation while sitting there for that purpose.
World is flat? You can't really, in science we don't really prove things. We can support based on a preponderance of evidence. We can positively falsify based on one single observation. Saying the world is flat is clearly wrong, which points to fallibility.
Interesting.
The argument that you'll get in a lot of cases is, it's sort of the his butt wasn't touching the chair argument, if you will. That not all the criteria were met for that to be an infallible statement. To play devil's advocate to you.
That's specious, frankly. I understand you're playing devil's advocate. And I also understand that's a specious argument that they make.
His butt wasn't touching the chair. This is like when you're playing games as a kid and you argue over whether or not you were touching the tree or not. Are you safe? What exactly is safe base? But yeah, the notion for anyone that hadn't been following it, there was. While he was, I believe, Cardinal of Munich, while Ratzenberger was Cardinal of Munich, there was an allegation of sexual abuse that would have risen to his office to deal with, and I believe the guy got moved and everything got silenced, much like it had here in the U.S. And that was something that he should have been briefed on, given his position as Cardinal of Munich when it happened, and there's a claim he knew nothing about it. And then and I'm going to forget the correct name, but when he headed up the arm of the church that's responsible for doctrine, it's the Congregation of the Faithful or something along that line, he was the right-hand man behind John Paul when it came to setting church doctrine. While he was in charge of that, there was a priest, I believe here in the U.S., that had what's the word? Ostensibly been molesting 200 plus deaf kids at a school.
Yeah.
Right.
And his local church officials had started an inquiry to try, actually a church trial, to determine the guilt or innocence. And word came down from this papal agency to squash the trial, to stop it, to bury the information, not have it, let's let it slide, make it disappear.
Nice.
Now, whether that word came from him or other subordinates within his organization, within the church, that's all still up for grabs.
Sure.
But that's, as you pointed out, just the latest scandal, and in this case, and this is where your Vatican cardinal defends Pope amid scandal, these implicate Benedict II directly.
It to me just feels like it's implying that this goes back a long time.
Oh, I think
Men in
without
power
us.
taking
Like
advantage of people?
centuries.
Yeah.
I mean,
As
deeply rooted.
as long as there's been people in power, there's been corruption.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
But to cover that up, to sacrifice children.
Yes.
And as we said earlier, the notion, even from some of the, primarily from the more progressive-leaning members, high-ranking members of the church, is that we can't just sit here silently and hope it goes away. We're going to lose our moral authority if we don't address this.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure they're going so far as to say, depopify Benedict, or whatever the proper phrase is.
That's good.
Well, depopify, that's slang.
Yeah, it wouldn't
For,
be defrock, dehat.
Well, it's,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I know it's
Yeah.
a serious subject.
Right. But
but, but that the church has to have a stance. They,
Sure.
they have to address these. You can't just let these things pile up, because you do, exactly like you said, you do get people that are outraged. This, and this, there's, there was a call for, let's see, what was it? Even with the sexual abuse in Ireland, there was a letter from the church, from Rome, chastising the local Catholic officials in Ireland who had, paraphrasing here, lost control of the situation and so dramatically misinterpreted, Catholic doctrine as to allow this kind of abuse to take place. I think at this point it's far past blaming the grunts on the ground, so to speak.
Right.
The guards in the prison are not where the orders came from.
Right.
The priests on the ground are not they're the ones committing these horrible acts, but you have people at much, much higher levels who let it
wink
go
at
on.
Yeah. Which,
And-
by the way,
Slide them into another parish somewhere else, move them around, bury it. And
that's
as
permitting it to continue to happen.
well, and as Robin Williams says in one of his comedy routines where he's talking about this kind of thing, it's not just a sin, it's a felony.
that's right. And you're an accessory if you know about it and let it go on and move priests around
Right.
so they can do it again. You're an accessory to the crime.
Yes.
At least in this country you are. I mean, I'm sure about the laws in
Excessive
Europe, but in this
accessory
country,
after the fact, and
it's
if you
like-
let them do it again, you're an accessory before the fact.
Yeah, I mean, this is serious stuff. And yeah, if I'm not a Catholic, but certainly I would be outraged to the point that I'd have to be questioning whether or not I wanted to stay affiliated with the church with some of this stuff. It's crazy.
Well, especially since you've got people who are falling away from the church in such large numbers that the Roman Catholic Church has invited Anglicans to join and made special provisions for them that, if you're an Anglican minister and you want to join the Roman Catholic Church, we'll let you be married. We'll let you be a married priest, but we won't let our own priests marry. But We want to bring, they're trying to